The Philippines is considering using tourism to bolster its claims in the South China Sea. It's thinking of inviting tourists to visit one of its key outposts in the region.
Thitu Island is located in the Spratly archipelago off the west coast of the Philippines. It has limited amenities and is home to a handful of Philippine soldiers and a small civilian population. But efforts are underway to turn things around.
Major upgrades are being done to the island's infrastructure. Philippine authorities are rebuilding the runway and constructing a port to harbor fishing and military vessels. They're also looking at building hotels to cater to domestic tourists.
And such moves mirror what other states have long been doing in hotly contested region. So, for instance, China and Vietnam have seen constructing facilities on islands they either occupy or have built from scratch. Buena Bunel tells us more.
Yes, the Philippines is planning to build not just military structures but also facilities that will draw tourists to Thitu Island and the Spratly Islands in the South China Sea. This is the Philippines' largest and most important outpost in the disputed waters. Now, Reuters is reporting that among those planned facilities to be built are hotels, and National Security Advisor Jimenez Esperon has said that also being built is a sheltered port that will cater to larger fishing vessels, to ships of the Navy and boats of the Coast Guard. Now, in particular, Defense Minister Delfin Lorenzana said that the Philippines is well on its way in repairing the runway in Pag-asa. That is a Filipino word that means hope, and that is how Filipinos call Thitu Island. This is an island occupied mainly by a civilian Filipino population, but it is also claimed by Taiwan, China, and Vietnam. Now, in March, there were reports of Chinese fishing vessels swarming near and around Thitu Island, and at that time, Mr. Duterte warned of sending Philippine troops into what he called suicide missions if China dared touch that island. That's how important Thitu is to the Philippines. In his State of the Nation address, Mr. Duterte reiterated that rhetoric that Philippines asserting its rights over China in the South China Sea could escalate to a war, but critics are pointing out that that's unlikely to happen, pointing to the example of Malaysia and Vietnam that have been more aggressive in responding to China's guarding and swarming of key areas in the disputed waters. Critics are saying that Mr. Duterte is overplaying that perceived threat from Chinese President Xi Jinping when he quoted Mr. Xi as saying that please don't drill oil because that would be trouble.